it didn't just change a few people's lives, it changed everybody's life. So everybody's going according to the same, but and that's caused a lot of trouble. I think there's a lot of miscommunication because a lot of people think, who's really behind this? And once you start getting into that thinking, there's no way out because you'll never know.
No.
There are things that
That's right.
We'll never know. So don't waste time asking like who injected this into the system. It's in the system, and you got to protect yourself and your family. Keep it small. Yeah. Keep it small. And what can I say? Watch what you're spending, take care of yourself. Stuff that you can't control is you really do have to wake up. Some mornings it's harder than others, and just say, I can't control that. I don't have anything to do with that. What I can control is this, and this. So I'm going to take care of that.
Yeah.
That's hard to do.
Do you know what I noticed? People became more courteous. Like in the store, obviously you have to wear masks and you have to social distance. When you went to the store before, I mean, out of all the tragedy and the horribleness that happened, and it's just devastating worldwide. It wasn't just America or England or France or Germany. It was worldwide. It was, well, most of it. But you go to the store and people are like trying to, just going on the shelf or something like this, and they're jumping in queues and this, that, and the other. Everybody was courteous, apart from everyone running out of toilet paper. Everybody bought toilet paper and there's none on the shelves. That was bizarre. But, people became courteous with each other, and there was distancing, and you'd wait for someone to go in the queue, and you'd wait, and I noticed people were, like my grandparents in the war said, you smiled at each other every day because you didn't know if this was going to be your last. And that's the difference in when we're faced as human beings, our humanity, with our worst, we become our best. And it's a shame we can't be like that all the time, that it takes such a tragedy for us to turn around and be courteous with each other and be kind. I mean, not everyone. I think there's more kindness and love in the world than there is anything else. But, it's a yin and yang. Life is a yin and yang. But it's definitely changed a lot of people's perspectives on life and how we're treating each other. And when people have fear instilled in themselves, it can cause it to go, the balance, the scales, positive or negative. It depends on the person. So people get outraged and they get angry because people are dying and they're getting sick, and they're in fear. And fear is a very, very strong emotion. It's almost as strong as love and hate, I think, and it causes people to react. But
Fear is, it's hard to say that it's an illusion. I hear people saying that all the time because it feels very real to me, but
it is real.
But it's whether people would say that's really the feeling of forgetting what love is. That's the feeling is fear, and it's imaginary because there's no such thing as a world without love. So you're really just creating torment for yourself. That's one school of thinking. I remember when I first started exploring just different ways of thinking, one of the first things I looked at, and I don't know that politics is her game, although why not? Because she's really just interpreting the soul. But Marianne Williamson used to talk and give lectures about Course in Miracles. That's what it was called, which was really big about 20 years ago. I remember there was a resurgence, and a lot of it was because she was doing lectures all over Los Angeles about it. And it was really big. And I remember thinking, oh, this is interesting, although, the story behind it is kind of strange, but I love the fact that, I'm not reading anything about it or any of what it's pushing. And I feel all of it's completely authentic and worth thinking about, unlike things like Scientology, where there's a whole different mythology placed on top. There was no mythology. And really what it was exactly what it said. It was like a course. It was a course. Just do this every day. Don't ask any questions. Just do this every day.
Yeah.
And there'll be a time for questions, and here's what it is that you're learning. But, you know, some things you just have to do, like you have to take action. And I just remember sitting there and listening to her and thinking that makes sense. And one of the things that they said in that was that fear was an illusion. Mm-hmm. That there's love, and you can convince yourself that there's hate, or you can be afraid. But those are two frames of mind that you're choosing when you just try to ignore what you are.
Yeah.
When you forget what you are. I've never met her, but I thought she was. I bought all of her books, and I found her very comforting. But that was like 20 years ago, and I like that she ran for president. I like that she did that. She had to get used to the arena. I'd be even more impressed if she came back and ran again, because don't let somebody scare you away, and you have to learn how to. She just has to learn how to politic. That's all. But
yeah, she seemed. Yes, Marion, she did run, and she seemed a very deep person. She very.
It doesn't mix well because it's not a.
It doesn't. Politics. You have to have a hard interior.
It's not a genuine world. Like that's not the politics is a lot of gravy and crap. Mm-hmm. So she's talking about substance, and they're up there all maneuvering. You know, it's hard to imagine she's actually the same species as Ted Cruz. Like I can't even picture them on the same chart. You know, but yeah, funny. They're the same. They've both been issued a brain, a soul, and this is how they're functioning. You know, they're on pretty different courses, but you know.
I think of quite a few people, leaders of the world, come from a different species.
Yes.
Unfortunately, you know.
Yeah.
And is there anything that no one has asked you in an interview and you would have liked them to ask you?
What's your bra size? Nobody's ever asked me. That's one thing. Do you like being named Lisa? Ever come up?
Oh, that's funny. You are funny.
Yeah, I guess so.
You do have a very dry sense of humour, and Bonnie and I on Twitter have had quite a cackle about your tweets, especially years ago when I first met you on Twitter. Started following you, and I said, Bonnie, all these people are following me back. I don't get it, because it was all new to me too. I joined Twitter in 2010.
I don't understand it. And I've been at the same. I don't pay attention to it, and that's one of the things that Alyssa said. Don't pay attention to who's following and who's not.
Yeah.
But I'll get a resurgence of people like following, and I've been the same number of followers, if nothing, just a little bit less, because I sometimes, especially if you get political, you see like, oh, there go 5,000 people. That's okay.
I know, right? That does happen.
I really don't pay attention to it anymore, other than the fact that I don't seem to move. Like I think there is an algorithm, and you sort of, and then you can't graduate out of that unless something extraordinary happens.
Yeah.
I don't know why, but like I've actually looked at different periods where I thought, okay, I'll do, you know, this has been a good month. Like this is a lot of stuff has been retweeted, and a lot of it's gotten like retweeted a lot of times.
Yeah.
This should have somebody, and none of it ever has any effect either way, which is strange.
I think some things do. I've noticed some things get retweeted a lot. It depends on the mood of the people.
But I don't think it's retweets necessarily that does it.
It's the likes, you think?
Maybe that, or hashtags. I don't know.
Hashtags really work. Certain people, you can tell, they're like very empathic, you know.
Yeah.
They hold a lot of empathy, and they care a lot. And then there's some people that care, but not that much, you know.
Right.
But you don't seem, you're very in tune with the world and the people, and so
it's important to me.
So fame didn't put a grey area on your soul, I think, when that happens, you know, because some people they get lost for a moment. Maybe they get lost and then they come back.
Oh yeah, some people get lost and never come back.
Right, but it doesn't seem in your personality that you got lost. Maybe you
I
might.
think I don't know, because you don't. There are times where you can feel like, oh, I'm exactly where I should be, and what you are is lost. But I mean, it's hard to have perspective on yourself. But I go back to parenting. Like my mom was an extraordinary parent, so I know who I am. And at times when I do feel lost, she's, thank God she's still with us. She's still sharp as a tack, but I sort of know who I am in reflection, because I've seen a strong adult. Like, I've had an example of that all my life.
Yeah.
So
that's amazing.
That's pretty much the gold standard of human strength. And if I'm reminding myself of her, that's only going to be a good thing. Or if I see flashes of her in other people, there's no greater compliment that I could give. And you usually have to know somebody for
a while.
Yeah. And it can be a mistake too. It's
yes, it happens.
It's an easy, it's not a hard thing to pass off to people if you know what you're doing and you know what people pay attention to. And there are a lot of people who use that as, they prey on people who are empathic.
Right. Yes, they do. Because I'm an empath myself. And I always think of it like this. Mark Twain, if you tell the truth, you don't have to remember anything.
Yeah, that's true.
Right? Just be yourself, in other words. Just be yourself. Everybody else is taken.
But, and then you end up with somebody who lies, and you don't want that to be true.
Right.
But the truth is, you're waking up with somebody lying next to you, and that's no good either. But they can smell that quality on somebody. When somebody cares, they smell it.
Yeah.
And it's like blood in the water for them. And they just don't think like, they don't have empathic thoughts. They don't have any.
No.
These are narcissists.
I was just about to say the narcissists.
Predators.
Yeah.
Predators.
You
they're not bad or good. They're just sharks. And you don't like, I always say, if a shark doesn't attack your sister, don't go out in a boat to thank the shark. The shark.
That's good.
Don't go thank the shark. The shark's never going to change. The shark will eat you. Like, don't swim out to thank the shark, is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
The shark's a shark. And a narcissist is a narcissist. And that's the thing that's really hard to learn, is because they come in a human case.
Right.
And it's lovely looking. And they learn all the tricks. They watch people. That's how they survive. They watch and they learn. They collect an empathic person to a narcissist, your value is, what traits do you have that make you empathic? I want to seem like that so I can collect more of you.
They mimic because they can't.
Sinister,
yeah, they mimic because they can't feel.
Yeah, they can't feel. And then you can't do that for longer than 10 months.
Really?
That seems to be the number that I've noticed. And after 10 months, it all starts to fall apart. You get a look at the person that you're actually with. But that's also dangerous, because 10 months of conditioning, you can really fall in love and go, I don't want this to be true.
I think we've both been hurt, Craig.
Oh, yeah, a bunch of times.
Yeah.
A bunch of times.
So they can maintain a persona of their personality for such a long time. And then if they have a stress factor, then they forget the persona.
Right.
And then it can come out. So it can come out sometimes years later, I think. Because I don't think you can be that cruel to someone without having something mentally wrong somewhere.
Yeah, I don't think they experience as cruelty, which in a weird way, I don't give them a pass, but it's not the same thing as like pulling legs off of an insect.
No, that's really bad. Sociopathic.
Ripping a wing off a bird. But I don't think that's what they're thinking. I think they think, I just want to feel good. I want to feel good. They've never experienced empathy, so they wouldn't know it they wouldn't know it. It's very strange.
Come up and bit them.
To think of them as diabolical. I mean, they're different kinds.
I know some that are diabolical. But they were in power.
Yeah, there's a guy who does. Have you heard of H.G. Tudor?
No.
He's on YouTube, and he's done a whole series of I mean, I think he's had his voice distorted. He's a narcissist. He's been diagnosed, and he speaks about narcissism. But I think he veils his voice because I think he does. He is a writer, I think, and so he doesn't want it to. He's making these things so you can understand the narcissistic mindset. He's speaking first person as a narcissist, and he's very intelligent. And he walks and he thought this whole thing with Meghan Markle was really fantastic because it was, we can look at a narcissist. He doesn't have the right to diagnose anybody, but he feels very strongly that that's what she is. She's a narcissist, and that we can examine this in real time as it goes along. And that's what he's done. They're different. It's got like 29 episodes or something like that. Some of them are really brief. Some of them are an hour, where he just talks about that in context of narcissism. It's really fantastic. It's fascinating.
So he thinks she's a narcissist?
Oh, he's done 30 episodes, nearly 30 episodes on just talking about all of this. I mean, since the Oprah interview.
I don't think she lied.
What?
I don't think she lied, though, because Harry would never. He didn't expose the person that said that, but I think definitely someone said that. But he's
not. He doesn't think that he's a narcissist. He thinks the way he sets it up is Harry's the target.
Yes. Okay.
Harry's roadkill, basically.
Oh dear.
Harry's going to be that she's basically manipulating his entire life, and things that I recognize is trying to move you away from the family, separate you.
Yes. Okay.
And then start to spread poison throughout the family so that everybody's talking about everybody else. And then she just kind of, I've definitely seen that. I've definitely seen it.
Yeah.
And,
that's a shame.
And I'm pretty, but I don't think you can know somebody until you actually meet them. So my opinion about her is, I don't have any opinion about her, but
right.
But it's interesting to hear somebody who's got a very strong opinion and who's been following that and is actually inside of that disease,
Okay.
It's interesting.
Yeah. I haven't been following it, really. I mean, I've always cared for Diana's boys because I think she was, she seemed a beautiful soul, Diana did. And I think Harry's very similar. I think William's very much like his father.
I'm not familiar enough. I just started watching The Crown.
Did you? I wasn't that fond of the Queen because of Diana and stuff. And then I started watching The Crown. The Queen's father, that was a very nice gentleman. He was King George. Yeah. He
was the one who stuttered, right?
Yes. The King's speech.
Yeah, and they only hint at it here, but he's stuttering and.
Yes.
Oh, he was really heartbreaking.
I know.
Just very sad.
Well, that's a nervous disposition, isn't it, really, they say?
Well, that, and then he's also just somebody who's... I never understood the royal family, and I didn't grow up with it. It was when the Charles and Diana stuff was happening, so this would have been like 1980.
Yeah.
1980, 81 or something like that. They were getting married. We went over to England as a choir, and...
Oh, you did?
We went to Windsor Castle and stuff. Yeah, it was really beautiful, but I was like, what are they doing? What are they doing with this wedding? And then I saw all the girls went nuts over it. Like, oh God, the carriage is...
I know. It's beautiful.
Yeah, but it's not real. What are they doing? And there's so many hungry, everybody's hungry, and these people are living like this and they're okay with it. Like,
yeah,
I never really understood it. And I'm beginning to think like it's almost like you take, if we built like the ideal American family and then just froze them in time and said, you're the bloodline, we're going to just, and you're public property. You can live in this beautiful house with this beautiful property, and but you have to wish us all Merry Christmas. You have to constantly tour the world and be our ambassadors. And we'll make sure that you have a very nice life, but you basically answer to, you just have to represent us, and you're basically a tourist attraction.
Yes.
Which is essentially what
That's exactly what it is. That's exactly what it is.
And they're a family that's actually, it seems like from the outside, you're like, do they own England? Do they actually own everything? Or is it the other way around?
Well,
they're owned, that they're public property, and they have to go out and say one thing and probably live another.
Yeah.
I don't think they behave very well.
No.
I don't know. And my opinion of, I was watching it, and my opinion of the Queen has always been like, I don't know. And then when all the theories were that basically that, oh, she's basically a lizard, or they're awful, terrible, bohemian,
Yeah. But did you see
blood drinking, awful. They had Diana murdered, and they had,
I don't.
And then watching this, I thought it might be late for PR, but maybe this is closer to the truth. Like, maybe, I don't know.
Was she?
Because I'm watching it and I'm like, oh, never thought of, like, I'm kind of falling in love with Queen Elizabeth. She's so beautiful and pure and great, and is having this horrible thing thrust upon her. It's almost like The Godfather, where she has to become this
creature.
Yeah.
Yes, I'd
much rather she'd be this very refined lady, old lady who drinks tea and is everybody's grandmother, and
she has
a lot of class. I thought she handled, there wasn't like some press release that said, we're not a racist family. It's a horrible thing. She said, we're going to talk about it as a family. And
that's good. I think she's gone very humble as she's got up. She did change after Diana died. But I did notice watching The Crown where, she wanted to live a normal life, and then this was, that was her duty. She had no choice. She's the eldest child. And then her husband, he had his own status, and he was stripped away from that.
He's not king, obviously, so...
No, he cannot be king.
What is he?
He's the prince... He's the Duke of Edinburgh. They named him a Duke.
Oh, I see.
Duke of Edinburgh. So...
I see.
And then, because you have the Queen... Yeah, a king with his wife, she can become a queen. But a queen... Because a king is... I guess a king is a higher status than a queen. So, like with King Henry, he had all them wives, who chopped off a couple of their heads. So he had 6 wives, Henry VIII, and they became queen. But if it's a queen, they can't become king because it's a higher status. So they named him Prince and Duke of Edinburgh. So you have your king and queen, your princess, and they become dukes of certain counties, like of Edinburgh, which is Scotland, and the Princess of Wales, which was Diana. They named her of a country because she was going to be queen.
Right.
And then because it was Prince and Princess of Wales, which is Charles and
right.
And Charles
she would have been queen.
Yes. So and then you got your dukes and you got your lords and ladies and dames and sir, sir and dame and duke and duchess and then there's sir and madam, Sir Anthony Hopkins. He was he was knighted by the Queen. So they become a higher status of us regular folks like me.
Yeah. What is it? I don't know what any of it means.
I don't. It's just snobbery, if you ask me. Sorry to offend anyone in England. But I don't understand.
I
love England. I do. I've been back a few times and lived there. And I went back 2 years ago and stayed there for 8 months, and then I came back again. It's because I miss my mum. My dad's here, but my mum and all my big Irish family in England. My dad's side's Serbian and English.
I was with a Geordie for a while, and then I was with
a Geordie. They're lovely. They are. I love Geordies. Okay, maybe not.
Well, this is
depends on the person.
You can't judge a class of people.
By one person.
Yeah.
That's it. Cockneys, Geordies. You got the Mancews, and then you got the Brummies, and then you got the Welsh who are.
Yeah.
But I've got a big Irish family. My mum has kind of an English accent because she was 7 when she left Kildare Island to go. But yeah, so it's my family.
I never knew if it was I know it was Northern, but you hear like the American ear, like, you know,
Yeah.
we'll hear an Australian accent and go, that's English,
Yes.
because it all sounds the same. But
I do get
but it's the
asked if
same
I'm
thing when you
Australian.
hear a British person try and do an American accent. You're like, oh, well, it works both ways. Like they, you know, like there are different regions in America. You can tell exactly where somebody's from, but the English ear can't quite hear the difference in the regions. They can tell Southern from Northern, but it takes a real musical gift to hear. And so there'd be little clues, like in the Beatles, whenever there was a G at the end of the word, like they say pudding, pudding.
Yes.
So you have that.
Yes.
Like you'll pronounce the G's.
And we say
Like
gap.
you said, yin, yang. Yin, yang. And,
What do you say?
yin, yang. I don't think we hit the G's. We don't hit the G's very hard.
Oh.
Americans and also British are like, they're all over the up and down. In America, it's just come on times like that.
Broke.
But it's very boring.
I'm like
America, it's very sort of like dull and and then Southern is a little, Southern's a bit, it gets a little bit more British. Like Southern gets a little bit more, musical. But in the North, we just sort of talk like this. It's just kind of boring. Yeah.
Oh, I don't know. I like the American accent. I think you speak a lot slower than us because I've got an Irish family. When I first come across here, I had to really, especially when I was on the phone in my first job, they were like, Sam, we don't understand you. You've got to slow down. I know. I had to learn how to speak slowly. But I can't do an American accent for scratch. I just can't. And if I do try, I sound like I'm from the South. The States. I'm terrible at that. I can do
It's
Irish.
very hard. It's very challenging.
I can't do the American accent. I just can't. And I've never lost mine. My speech does fluctuate. Do you think yours does? Because you've gone to different states from like New York to Los Angeles?
No, I think I grew up, for some reason, where I grew up in New York regionally, it's almost undetectable. I can hear it. I can hear if somebody grew up in my neighborhood or within like a 20-mile radius, I can hear it.
Right.
It's just, but I wouldn't even, I don't think I could distinguish or tell you why, but like there's something in the A sound. I can just hear it, but it's very subtle. And I don't think somebody from another place would hear it. It's just what differentiates where I'm from, because nobody had like a New York accent like this. Nobody talked like that where I was from. It's a northern suburb. So
okay.
Everybody sounds like this. They just sound like they're on AM radio. It just sounds like there's no accent, but you hear an accent because it's American, but
yeah. And you hear
Americans, people would not know where I was from in America. They wouldn't be able to place it. They'd never guess New York. A lot of it's Midwestern. They'd guess Midwestern or California, which regionally is similar. You don't hear anything.
Yeah, it is mixed. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, because I've spoke to people from New York too, and before, and yeah, John Fugelsang doesn't have an accent either. And
where's he from?
New York. He does the Sexy Liberal tour with Stephanie Miller. I've met her too in Los Angeles, and I met them in like Rick Overton, and very, very lovely people.
Rick Overton, I love him.
They're very funny comedians. I love stand-up comedy. I think it's fantastic. I can't do the stage thing. I'm too shy for that. I was nervous enough doing this. I was like, I don't know if I'm going to do it. I think I've got to breathe in and out.
I'm telling you, the most charming thing I ever saw was Elvis Presley, because you're like Elvis.
Right.
And I think the trick to it was, one of the reasons he was so beloved was he was so honest. He couldn't help it.
Yeah, I am.
So he'd
too.
say, I'm terrified. And I think it would help him, because now he's actually relieved himself of having to hide it.
Right.
And everybody's like, oh, and like you can see, like the women are like, they're falling in love with him because he's admitting it. He's vulnerable.
Yes, vulnerability.
I don't think it wasn't like a trick or anything. It was just part of his personality. He was just a good old boy, and he would be disarmingly honest about things and about himself, and that really charmed everybody. That's part of what I think what made him Elvis, was he was so human, so relatable. So I think it's gold, actually, if you're nervous, to just say, I'm a little nervous.
Well, I think the reason why I wanted to say it is because I just wanted to say how I felt, and that if I did anything wrong, that please excuse me. This is the first time I've done this, and so you're so relaxed and natural, and you're just being yourself, and that's fantastic. You know, you're just being yourself, and that's what I want. That's what I want to.
You are. That's what you're doing.
Yeah.
It's what it is.
Me too.
You know, you bring whatever you want, and that was. I mean, anybody who's good at what they do, like there's some like a good shrink brings themselves into the room, and I didn't even realize that. Like, I went out with this girl who was studying to be a psychiatrist, and she said that's a big part of it is just bring yourself into the room. It has less to do with like bringing your whole education in there and being like a shrink.
Yeah.
Just be authentic. The person really, really needs to know that you're there and you're listening. And then the whole trick of it, well, the whole reason for the education is you can bring yourself into the room and apply what you've learned in your life without talking about your life. That's not an interviewer, but that's for a psychiatrist. They're not there to talk about like their life, but they're accessing their own experience to relate to what it is that you've gone through. A good one. And they sort of, it's a balance. The more authentic, the more you just bring yourself into the room, because we're not playing parts. You know?
No, just being ourselves.
And you can't, I don't know, a lot of people, being scared is viewed as a negative thing rather than just being a fact. So I can understand why somebody would want to go, my objective is to make people not know that I'm as scared as I am, which you know, if you're being mugged, you shouldn't maybe appear scared, or, you know, maybe there's times where it's appropriate, or, you know, but if you're scared, you're scared.
Are you ever going to adopt another dog? Bit like Boo.
Oh yeah, but I can't even think about that. I mean, I can't do it while I've got Boo, because we're such a team. That I think it would be strange for her. Here, hold on. The answer to your question is yes. I would always want to have that.
Yeah.
But anyway.
Just dogs?
Yeah, your dog.
Dogs or cats or?
I'm not a cat person.
Me neither.
But I have a really close friend who's a cat person. She just lost her cat. She's having a lot of difficulty with it. So love is love. You know, it's just, I don't connect to cats the same way I do a dog, but people do. It's just, they get under your skin.
I'm highly allergic to cats.
Yeah.
So what's your plans for the next few months?
I think a lot of it just depends on where this ride is going, what's going to happen. I mean, I'm right now I'm writing something, and I've just started that project with a co-writer. So we're writing something, and we'll be done with our first draft in about a month or so. And that's it. I never think too far ahead.
Yeah.
I just, I never do. I can't. And it never turns out that way. Well, in a year and a half, I want to be doing, you can't really plan that sort of thing. Right. It'll be interesting to, I don't know. I don't know what opportunities are out there. It's just beginning to open up now. Mm-hmm. Just getting my first look at some new scripts that are out there, and, trying to see, okay, is this pretty much what I have to look forward to, or is it going to get, more interesting? We'll see. Nobody knows how much the world is going to change. Such an uncertain time. Mm-hmm. And that's leading to everybody's discomfort too. There's no way to feel certain right now. There's no way to feel certain. And to me, that's kind of comforting, because everybody's in the same boat. Mm. But a lot of people are, and there are very uncomfortable things about it, but for the most part, nobody really knows what's going to happen. To my industry, nobody really knows. Anybody who claims to know is deluded or lying. And I think it's that way for the world. I don't like the phrase new normal, because I don't think, things will never go back to exactly the way they were. We want them to. Mm-hmm. But a lot of things, I think in 2 years, it's very possible we could look back and go, that was weird.
Right? That's a good way of looking at it, Craig, actually.
I mean, I do think we'll probably feel that way about not Bush, Trump.
Trump.
Like, I think we'll probably feel that way about Trump. That's really weird. I mean, but who knows? Who knows? That might be the beginning of a whole new era. So I have no idea.
It's been a very strange few years, Craig.
Yeah, it has. It has. It's very difficult.
I'm keeping that
for a lot of
broad.
people, and I recognized a lot of what was happening, in publicly with aspects of my life, of my personal life. Just like having seen narcissism close up, and having to I have to protect myself from that because I seem to attract a lot of that. So I see a lot of that in the president that other people aren't going to see because they haven't had that experience, and you don't get to go around talking about it. But I signal it every once in a while on my Twitter. Every once in a while, I get because I am fascinated by narcissists.
Are you? Why? Mind you,
well, because
saying
because they're deadly. Because they're deadly. They're like human hornets, and I've been attacked before. I've been under full attack in the sites of a few narcissists. I mean, you can't escape it in this business, but also in real life, when you wake up and you go, uh-oh, there's no looking back. It
must be.
I'm beginning to think that I don't know this person. It's a very terrifying thing.
I'm so sorry that you experienced that. I think most human beings that, at our age, we've at least come across one narcissist. But one psychologist told me once that it's very hard to diagnose a narcissist because they're so good at what they do. And you have to know them actually live with them near enough, or see them on a daily basis or very often, before you can even diagnose a narcissist, because they're so good at hiding it and mimicking. They're like a chameleon. They mimic.
That's all they are. There's nothing inside. There's nothing.
It must be awful though to be that way. Because you imagine not feeling it. I'd rather be overly sensitive.
Well, they feel. I mean, that you talk about fear.
Feeling.
But if they can't be alone. They literally don't know who they are if they're alone. So that's terror.
Okay.
So the worst thing that you could, and that's the thing that people don't relate to, is the first thing that happens when a narcissist has sort of done their work on you and you realize, well, I got to get away from this person. The first thing, your first instinct is, how can I get them back? Or how can I, let them know that I know, you're already speaking the wrong language. They don't care. There's no interest. They've already gotten whatever it is they need to get. And if they think that you know who they are, you're just a disease to them. That you're in the way. And so because really what they feel is just a total absence of any connection to you whatsoever. The thing that made it most clear to me was I said, I just can't picture feeling. I said, how do you feel about your iPhone? The last iPhone that you had previous to this one, do you miss it? Do you think of it? Do you get nostalgic for that old iPhone? That's how they think of you. They're with another iPhone.
Oh yeah,
that's horrible. And I said, that's kind of dehumanizing. I said, but it'll never get better than an iPhone. This is touch. This is touch to them. And then they need you for access. They need you to complete something that will never complete in their life. And their life is kind of a looping hell. It's 3 stages over and over and over again.
Oh, wow. So it's like an empty shell.
Seduce, detach, and, seduce, detach, and discard. They need to bring somebody in. That's when they're really convincing you.
Yeah.
They create this golden period, and then they dehumanize you. You're this doesn't feel as good as I expected. And that can take anywhere from 10 months to a year or 20 years. And then the detach, they'll just leave and not think about you the next day. They don't get nostalgic because they don't associate it with feelings of love. They think about you as like an iPhone.
I would not.
You're an object.
I would not want to date a narcissist.
Oh, it's really terrible.
Yeah.
It's quite terrible, but it's at the beginning, there's nothing better because they need so desperately to convince you that they're ideal. And that can be a red flag, you know, it's too good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That would be a red flag. I'd have to look for that. Yeah.
It's wearying to have to look at people like that, but you do.
Well, at least now you know, for if you meet a nice lady or something, at least you can
get a good idea of it, but it's not, their existence depends on being able to pull this off. So they're very good at it. I mean, it's a matter of life and death for them. So, and they're not thinking I'm doing this to be diabolical, or I'm doing this because I'm a narcissist. They're actually thinking this is the one. Like they actually do. It's just that they can't keep it up, and they remember who they are, which is which is whatever pain they experience in their childhood that they can't get past or whatever. It's quite ugly.
They do say that something traumatic happened to them as a child. So and the chemicals in the brain changed. You know. Yeah,
that a part of their socializing facility doesn't develop correctly. They don't perceive the outer world correctly. They don't take in all of the information. They can't process it because that part of their brain is stunted. So you might say, "Oh, I want to help you," and what they hear is, "I'm telling you, you don't know something." That's what they hear.
Oh no!
I want to help you. I want to give you some. I want to help you.
This is an attack.
Because you want to help them, and what they hear is they're being corrected, and they're like, "No, you don't help me. I help you." Like that's where that crazy moment comes from. Like I've had moments like,
sorry,
really? Jeez.
Yes, I've met a couple of people like that, but I'm not dating, just in general, you know.
But they're not. Yeah, they're not. There's a lack of. Yeah, when a generosity, they don't seem to be able to perceive generosity. That's a bad sign. You do something generous and then somebody doesn't
accept
it's almost like it doesn't stick. Yeah, that's a bad sign. Someone's keeping a ledger, you know, and they're just, because nothing is ever done out of gratitude. Nothing is ever done out of love. I mean, that they don't experience that. In fact, you give them a gift, they'll probably be thinking, what's this going to cost me? You know, what do they want? What do they really want? Like, it's wearying.
What a horrible way to
interesting.
think. Yeah, but it's horrible thinking that way, you know? I think that's awful. I wouldn't like to do that.
I don't read about it or listen because I find them particularly interesting. I find them particularly deadly. I want to be able to, I mean, I guess there is something interesting about them, but it's not like you listen to someone and go, there's someone can speak narcissistically and you're like, oh, they're being kind of a narcissist, but you can't frame somebody that simply being a narcissist. It's too complicated. There are too many collaborating issues.
Yeah, there is a difference between a narcissist and then someone saying something narcissistic, because I think all of us, if we've got annoyed, have said something off course. You know, if we've been annoyed, and that doesn't mean that person's a narcissist, they just made a narcissistic comment, and there's a huge difference between that, you know. Yeah. And I suppose, as you said, the facade, they can't keep it up for too long.
No, it's wearying for them. They can't do it.
Unless
they can't do it.
I'm enjoying talking to you.
Yeah,
because you're very interesting to talk to.
Well, thank you.
And thank you so much for coming on, Craig.
Oh, it's my pleasure. Thank you so much. So nice to meet you.
It was lovely to meet you too. You are a true gent. Yeah,
thank you very much.
You are.
Thank you.
And do not lose that humour.
No.
Especially on Twitter. It's fantastic. And don't lose your soul either. I don't think you will, but
no.
But keep that kindness there.
Thank you so much.